Welcome to the community conversation. Sam and I are back discussing nutrition with you guys to help give you guys some practical strategies that you can apply to your day to day. So what we want to talk about today is a common question we get often is, should your nutrition change depending on whether you're working out or if you're resting? And I think that's more of, should your food choices change? Should your caloric intake change? Should you do anything different between your workout days and your rest days? So talk about it a little bit. So Sam, start off with asking you the question of, what do you do on days that you work out that you don't do on days that you don't work out?
So I think if someone's working out, or maybe I'll just talk about like if I were to work out, because, here's a hypothetical. But if I'm working out, I'm probably going to have like a separate pre-workout snack that's like not necessarily included on a normal day that I'm not working out, and also potentially a post-workout snack. And that's just something small to like make sure I have enough energy to carry me through the workout. And then something again small to make sure that I'm not like passed out on the floor as soon as the workout's done. Like a bit of carbs, a bit of protein, maybe a little bit of fat, depending on what else I have going on in the day. Definitely quite a bit more water, just because I'm sweating more. But when you look at like the day as a whole, not that much changes. Like breakfast would be the same, lunch would be the same, dinner would be the same. It's just like the 2-hour window of my day surrounding the workout that like I personally would change, and I would probably recommend other people to change as well. What does that kind of look like for you, John?
So it depends on what time I'm working out. If I'm working out at 5 a.m., then what I eat might be a little bit different than if I'm working out at 10 o'clock or noon. Just I get also like what I would have afterwards. So if I had a meal coming up afterwards, I wouldn't need to put in like a snack before that because I'd have the meal. So I wouldn't, not too much might change there. But if I have like a longer gap before my workout, then that's probably going to be a little bit of a bigger meal than if I only had like, if working out at 5 a.m, some people don't like to have like a ton of food. So they eat something like small, maybe it's just like half a banana or something like little. And then they have like a meal, like their full breakfast afterwards. For me, I would say I'm probably a little different than how most people would do it, just because my opportunity to eat it, if I am working out at 5 a.m. I'm not going to eat again until almost 11 a.m. So I almost wake up a little bit earlier than I would want to wake up just to be able to eat some food. So I normally do like a little bit of like cereal in the morning. And then after my workout, depending on, I might do like an hour and a half later, I might do like a shake or a protein bar or something like that. Just make sure I get some energy back. But always like the hydration is like one of the most important things for me, is like making sure that I drink water before and after I work out. And then depending on how soon after or before I eat would kind of dictate like what I'm going to have.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. Are you drinking water while you're working out?
Maybe during like my strength, not during my conditioning piece. Because I usually just want to like do the best I can. If I was doing something like, I don't know, like I was doing like a really, really long workout, maybe like Murph, like then maybe I would go ahead and I might like take a sip of water. But I try to minimize like getting out of like kind of that rhythm I'm in when I'm working out. If I'm doing like a 10-minute AMRAP, no, I don't need water. But
I feel like that happens all the time,
I was doing like back squats or something like that, and like during my rest period, I'd probably like take a sip of water. Because the intensity is lower at that point. So you have like that rest, like, or if we had like a workout that was like some interval work, it was like a minute on, minute off, like I might go ahead and have a little bit of water there just so my throat doesn't get dry. But it kind of depends on the workout. Most workouts, usually not.
Everyone should know that you don't need to stop and take a sip of water in the middle of a Metcon. You can get adequate hydration before and after. I promise you, you will not die if you don't take a sip of water in the middle of a 10-minute AMRAP.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing something like soccer or something like that, where like, you're, doing like 30 minutes of straight like running, then when you get off the field, you're probably gonna drink a little bit. But yeah, you usually, unless you're like doing a marathon run, like that's the only time when you would probably go ahead and take like a glucose tablet or, or Gatorade.
Yeah, so hydration before, hydration after, and then like meal changes a little bit depending on whether or not you're working out.
Yeah, it's not too much like changing anything except when I eat is probably what I would say. Like on a workout day is when I actually eat my meals. That might get shifted around, but usually like what I'm having is gonna be pretty much the same. It's just like you don't want to eat too much before you work out because it's like can upset your stomach. And after you work out, like sometimes you just don't have the appetite. So you just might like shift some things around a little bit for what you have. But what would you recommend like for nutrients, like, macro wise, like what do you typically recommend? Like let's just start with like before a workout, probably say like some carbs, right?
Yeah, definitely. My like first statement always to this is whatever you can tolerate. Because some people like really can't tolerate food beforehand. Like some people like to drink a glass of milk before they go run 7 miles. Some people will have to have 2 crackers. It's like totally what you can tolerate. But if we're talking about optimizing nutrition, like pre-workout, um, carbs is the way to go. Carbs are literally meant to give our body quick energy. And we're talking like simple carbs. Like you're probably not eating like some broccoli like right before you go work out. Like you literally want sugar. That's why people drink like energy drinks or like have goos during marathons, because like right before the workout, like your body needs carbs to be easily digested, something that the body doesn't take a ton of time to break down. It's like simple carbs. Like personally, a go-to is pretzels or crackers, just because like that's personally what I can tolerate. And I know it gives me energy right off the bat. I know people who swear by gummy bears right before they go play whatever sports game they want to play. But it's really just dependent on what the person has, as long as you're getting some quickly digestible carbs into your system to give you energy to carry you through the workout. Is your recommendation similar, John?
Yeah. So you're saying that if someone has a hard time with like food doesn't sit well when they exercise, you're saying like simple carbs, like stuff that's like gonna be like provide you with more like sugar, but not gonna be super harsh on digestion. So like juice or Gatorade or something like that is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. And this is like within like the hour window right before you work out. Anything more than that, like you're probably just having your normal meal, whether it's like breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or like your normal snack. But it's really like in that like key 35 to 45 minute window that we like want to have something like small and full of energy.
Right. Okay. So now after like a workout, what would be kind of your recommendation?
So pretty similar of like we're looking at that same window, like 30 to 45 minutes or so, like within that hour. The best thing you can do is get a combination of protein and carbs. And like there's some, I guess the jury's still out on what the exact ratio of carbs to protein should be. And it's pretty dependent on like the physical activity that's being done, but anywhere between a 1 to 2 carb to protein ratio and a 1 to 4 carb to protein ratio, which like if you have no idea what that means like eat a Greek yogurt with some fruit or like a cheese stick and some crackers. Basically like get some kind of protein in you, but make sure you also have carbs with it. So if you're someone who wants a protein shake, like maybe blend that up in a blender, like your protein powder with like a little bit of yogurt and a banana. So that you're not just getting straight protein. Protein's great, but also to recover, you need a little bit of carbs in the meal or snack or whatever it is that you eat right after.
Right. Do you mind like elaborating like a little bit on that, just so people that are listening, like what, like when you say protein, when you say carbs, like what's the purpose that it's actually serving before or after like you're working out?
Okay. So okay, I'm gonna try to not spend 20 minutes talking about this. But so carbs are, well, everyone knows what carbohydrates are because they're like demonized in the media. Carbs are like your grains. And carbs, when broken down just end up being sugars. And sugar, glucose, is the main form of energy for the body. So as long as you have glucose in your system, your body can work. Then protein is broken down into amino acids. And those promote muscle synthesis. So when you work out, your body is breaking down muscle fibers. And so to repair all that, we need the amino acids in our body because they're like the building blocks of repairing the muscles. And so when we say like you need to get protein in, we mean like a pretty solid source of protein. Like I wouldn't recommend considering, what's a good example that we talked about? Like your bagel, John, that we talked about before, how there's like a pretty, there's like 8 grams of protein in your bagel, but that's not like a true protein source because we really want more than that because your body's broken down so much of the muscle. And so when we say protein, like animal protein is the easiest way to get like strictly protein that has all of the amino acids that you need to rebuild, but like a protein powder has all the things that you need to make that happen. And then like non-animal proteins can work too. Like tofu, I know some people, like if you're a vegan, like tofu is a good way to go. But if you're a vegetarian, like if you can get like some milk or yogurt or eggs in the day, like that's a good post-workout protein source. Because if you're lacking in certain amino acids, it's going to be hard to repair the muscles in the way that they need to be repaired. I think that's as simple as I can make it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think sometimes it's just like we just think protein good and carbs why, or like what do carbs serve besides like that all those foods taste really good. But I mean, if you have like somewhat of an understanding that having rice can easily be a great fuel source for like performance, like being able to help. I mean, the carbs and the protein go hand in hand with being able to, properly recover, because your body stores carbohydrates as glycogen. So your body also uses that as when you're performing your workout, right? So if you guys are not eating enough carbohydrates after you work out, you're also not going to have that replenished energy store for you to be able to perform well the next day. And you start to notice like, okay, why do I feel like increased soreness? It's usually like a combination of probably not having enough protein, but probably also not having enough carbohydrates, dehydration. Like you can go like a laundry list. Your sleep could have been awful. You could have drank. There's a lot of different things, but a lot of times like we just we think, okay, since I worked out, like eat very like clean, right? Like eat salads and stuff like that. But we miss out like on a lot of stuff like those starchy carbohydrates that are also super important. But that brings me to the next question. Do we eat any different on our rest days? Should we?
Honestly, not really. Like all the things we literally just talked about with like the use of carbs and proteins, it's like you still need those on a regular basis. Like one, just to function. Like your brain needs a minimum number of carbs to like function every single day. And if you want to know that number, ask me. But I know if I say it, someone's gonna be like, "That's all I need." And so I'm not gonna say it. But if you have further questions on that, no, I will give you the number that your body needs bare minimum for your brain to function. But if you're not eating those on your rest days, then you're not recovering properly. If you're not drinking enough water on your rest days, you're not recovering properly. It's like the rest days, in my opinion, should look almost identical to the workout days, with the, caveat that like, if you're not as hungry because you're not actually having that physical exercise, then like maybe you don't need that pre and post workout snack. Maybe you just like kind of tie that into one as like an afternoon snack or whenever it is that you work out. But yeah, in my opinion, same thing. Rest days, workout days, weekends, weekday, like eat the same kind of foods all the time. Because it's not just like we don't look at nutrition day by day. We look at it as like a whole diet approach. And if you're drastically changing what you eat day to day based off the events in your life, then it's really hard to stay consistent and like reach your goals. I mean, what do you think about it, John?
No, yeah, 100% agree. Like maybe like look at like, okay, like you always have to look at like when you go to the gym is like, that's not where you're actually going to be building muscle. A lot of times you think like, okay, like since I'm lifting these weights, I'm going to build muscle. You build muscle with properly recovering. If you don't recover properly, you're not going to build muscle, right? So you can go ahead and do all the snatches, all the deadlifts, all the back squats you want. But if your recovery shit, you're not going to allow your body to grow more muscle or be able to run, a longer distance in your endurance because you're not giving yourself enough when you need it. So it's also like just that mindset too, that kind of want to get out of the like, okay, like I burned X amount of calories so I can eat X amount of calories. Like that's just a poor like relationship with food that you have to almost earn it. And that's kind of not really ideal. Like it's almost like a skill to practice, like is better listening to your body, because on your rest days, like you're still going to get hungry. So if you're just like, nervous about eating because you weren't as physically active, then, you gotta trust like what your body's telling you. Like if you're hungry, eat a little bit, right? Be like practice like that mindful eating and things along the lines of that, of, if you're craving carbohydrates, there's probably a good chance your body needs carbohydrates. Right. So on your rest days, you should definitely still eat, and you should be thinking like, okay, like this is going to help me recover. So next time I go to the gym, I can hit it hard, and it's going to help with your goals in the gym. So both things need to go like hand in hand. Like definitely agree. There shouldn't be too much change. And if you're like eating, like forcing yourself to eat when you're not hungry, then you don't need to do that either, right? So it kind of goes both ways. But usually like on your rest days, like you're probably going to go ahead and you're still going to have an appetite and things like that. I mean, I guess you could also like get into the conversation of, when we're not doing as much, like there's more opportunity to be bored and like do boredom eating and stuff like that. So it's also like practicing like being more intuitive, like, actually knowing like hunger versus just like, just running to the cabinet just because you're like bored, right? Like, but you still need to feel yourself. So yeah.
Like figuring out the difference between actual physical hunger and then like emotional hunger, because they're both very different things. And sometimes when we're stuck at home, then like the emotional hunger comes in, or just because it's a habit. So like figuring out when the body needs food is like probably the best thing you can do. Maybe that should start being my one piece of advice for everyone when I get asked that. Like, start listening to your hunger cues.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. And like kind of like recognizing like some of the patterns happens all the time. Like people have like back-to-back work meetings or whatever, and they run to the cabinet. That's may not be true hunger. That may just be like stress eating. So like better like seeing those patterns can also help with like having a better understanding of how much food do I want to eat and how much food do I need to eat, depending on what the circumstances. But overall, I think we agree that you need to eat on your rest days, and you don't need to eat less for sure on your rest days. You need to eat what you need.
And if anything, like I'm sure some people have experienced this where they feel almost hungrier on their rest days, and it's probably because like you over exercised the day before and your body's just trying to catch up. Like we do better when we're using the energy that we have stored in our body versus energy that we're like trying to catch up to get. So if you find that you're super hungry on your rest day, you're probably undernourished on your workout days for sure.
Yeah, the body's smart. It's almost like it's like a financial advisor. Like, hey, dude, you need to spend some of the money that you've been saving. Like, it's going to waste. Like, body will tell you exactly what it needs. So, gotta listen to it.
For sure.
All right, Sam. Any closing remarks, statements? Anything you want to add to the conversation of, do you need to eat differently on your workout days and rest days?
My answer is no.
Cool.
That's all I love. What do you got, John? You got a closing statement for us?
No.
Look at that. Short, sweet, to the point today.
Next week we're gonna be talking about like kind of how to feel yourself for the 24-24. It'll be kind of similar to what we talked about today, but we're gonna talk about how to like feel yourself when you're doing like multiple workouts in a row. So tune in next week to the podcast, and Sam is gonna go live on the Friday before the 24 for anyone that wants like a live Q&A. Sam's going to be talking a little bit, help you guys for that before the 24 hero workouts, which everyone I'm sure is getting excited about.
So pumped.
Yeah. So guys, thanks for tuning in to the community conversation, the nutrition edition, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.